What is up, gang, and welcome back to another episode of Inspired By, a series where we look at the musical trends, past and present, to understand the techniques used so that you guys can make better music. My name's Will, and I make an assortment of music under the moniker Hush Child. Some of you have shown interest in the comments that you'd like a few more grooves to help out and improve your garage beats. So I want to do just that in today's video. I've taken inspiration from a range of other garage beats, past and present, and created a template that you can use for your garage beat making. Now in this video, I'm going to break down the sounds that I used, the arrangements that I created, even the dynamics, panning, and any external plugins that I use to create these beats. But if you don't want to spend the time learning these and you're already a member of my Patreon, if you go to patreon.com/The Will Hatton, you can download the groove template, and all you have to do is drag and drop your sounds into the named regions and the groove will play along with your music automatically. So like I said, I don't want to waste any time, but I do want to remind you, if you're new to the channel, I've recently released a new single called Days, and I did so with the help of DistroKid, who's today's sponsor. DistroKid make it so easy to get your music on all the streaming platforms. This includes Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple, and even social media platforms like Instagram and TikTok. DistroKid has an extremely helpful hyperfollow tool which greets you when you upload your music, and this allows your audience to pre-save your music before its release. You'll even be able to collect their email for future use. The hyperfollow tool is coupled with a link that you can include in your Instagram bio. And if you've created your song or body of work with a collaborator, make sure to use DistroKid's Teams functions. Here you can create splits for the people that worked on this piece of music with you, edit these at any times, and retrospectively look at how much money that track has made and whom it's been shared with. Of course, your collaborators will need a DistroKid account as well, but when you invite them to the platform, they'll get 50% off. If you want to start releasing your music on DistroKid, make sure that you use the link in the description to receive a discount. Now with that out the way, let me throw on the magic specs and let's jump into the tutorial. So you can disregard this tab that I have here for melody. This is just all my instruments that are going to make up the melodies to accompany these grooves. They're all the same key and I've used the same instruments. I've just changed them ever so slightly to fit each of these grooves, but these are the grooves that we're going to look at. Stepping up and stepping into the number one spot, I've got that basic garage groove that you hear in legendary tunes like Flowers and AJ Tracey's Ladbroke Grove. So let's start here. Let's start with the basic groove, an on-beat, off-beat pattern. Nice and simple there. We have an offbeat snare as well. And for that, I've used a kind of live snare. And then we just have this kind of flam pattern hi-hat as well. And notice how this hi-hat running along here is a quieter velocity. For the panning on this, I've kept the kick and snare central as I have on pretty much all of these drum kits. And I've just panned the hi-hats a little bit to the left, as well as that side snare too. No serious processing on here, just an EQ8 here to cut out some of the lows for your bass to sit, and just a glue compressor to try and squash some of those louder transients. Next up, we've got hi-hat central, using 5 different hi-hats to create the panning effect, all pitched differently, and then again, a simple kick snare pattern. Five different hi-hats there, couple of perk layers, and then some different pitch snares as well as the kick. Lots of panning going on, lots of different levels. So this is inspired by another legendary tune, Wookie and Sia's Little Man. Heard this in many raves, and it's unique because it doesn't have that classic two-step pattern. There's no snare on the second beat. And the main busy layer that you can see here, with the offbeat layer being a quieter dynamic, we've got this shuffle pattern, okay? And if we zoom in, you can see that I haven't actually quantized it to the grid. I've kept it quite loose, and then that keeps it a little bit more interesting. It sits away from all of the other layers and makes it just feel a little bit more human. I've got my kicks and snares then. that second beat where the snare would normally be. And this one doesn't have that snare there. We'd normally have a clap or a rim shot there, but we're absent of that. In its place, we just have these different hi-hats and percussion. And we've got a low pitch snare here as well. Just a bit of variety there to spice things up. Over in the drum rack, we've got, just some varying dynamics to keep everything situated together. And then just some subtle panning on the hi-hats left and right, with some harder panning here on the first main hi-hat and then the snares as well, just to sit them again away from the kick and snare, which is sitting centrally. Got a real minimal one in the third place spot. This is my minimal kit, and it's inspired by the Joss Ryan remix of Progress. A couple of fills in there, and some panning from a little pitched up 808. I've been showing some of my students that I give one-to-ones the benefit of adding white noise to your mix, and it can be a great way to add a subtle rhythm there without having a really choppy hi-hat. Essentially what we've got is this. So this noise layer is made from the Sunny D hi-hat, but you can hear that it is just white noise, kind of faded out with a quick release. I've given it a brief fade in, but it's much more subtle than having a really gated hi-hat. If I go between these two tracks here, you'll notice that this minimalist one is a lot more subtle and easier on the ears than hi-hat central. And we've even got some kind of ear candy fills in there as well. And this is what the track looks like. So I've put the two noise layers on different regions, and that's because this is just a quieter, more gated and slightly detuned layer than the one below it. So that one above is, just sort of 30-40 cents detuned to the first one, and is slightly more gated, so chops off quicker. The reason for this is, again, to give it that humanistic feel. If you're not familiar with acoustic drums, they don't always sound the same. They're not robotic, and they're not always the same pitch. And this is because the drummer pushes down on the pedal either more tightly, creating a higher pitch, or more loosely, creating more of an open hi-hat. Lots of air inside, so it makes it a lower pitch. So I've just tried to create that with some of the noise. And that's why I couldn't stack it on the same layer. Then we have our kick snare pattern. This layer is quantized. And then we have our hi-hats and side snare. Notice how we've got, again, that classic garage sort of offbeat rhythm with the side snare. But to mix things up and make this a little bit more pleasing to the ear, we've got some varying drum fills here. And we've also got a pitched up 808 to create some perk fills as well. You notice that there's a snare missing there, and that just creates a little bit of a groove with the music as well. Makes the listener sit up and listen to what's going on, which is really nice. And I've just done that by placing these fills together. They're quantized to the grid and the quietest velocity. Yeah, this is one of the few rhythms that I've put in place where everything is quantized to 16th notes or 32nd notes. I think that's our longest loop in the template if you download it from Patreon. The really interesting thing about the Minimalist Kit is if you scroll down to the bottom of the chain, my fill perk that I have here, you can see it's just sliding to the right and sliding to the left, and there's no music playing. It's, the arrangement is completely still, and you can see here it says this parameter is disabled because it is controlled by a Max device. And I've just downloaded this Max for Live device here, which is completely free, of course, which is just controlling the pan. And that means that when that fill comes in, it will just pan from left to right, and it will just differentiate a beat and create some ear candy there. It's a really nice technique, and this Max for Live device is super, super helpful to just create some randomness or some automation to your mix. All you have to do is hit this button, choose something to map, and then all you have to do is choose something that it can control. Now we've got our busybody kit. Lots of panning going on, very busy drum kit. Two shaker parts with the help of decap at the top here. Kept off the grid, so obviously it does fall on the downbeat, But then after that, I've kept the hi-hats extremely loose, again, to give it more of a humanistic feel, as if you were shaking it with an egg shaker. Here's what our kick snare pattern sounds like alone. The main difference here is this little quiet dynamic here. We don't have it here. And then our hi-hats and open hi-hats sit like this. And our drum kit's looking like this. I've just thrown the shakers just to make it more appealing and straightforward to the eye in the top right of the drum rack, but it doesn't matter where you place them. Kicks, snares, hi-hats, as I mentioned, and an open hi-hat with some harder panning than we've seen with the shakers and the hi-hat, just to separate it for the listener so you can hear that the main elements, the bass, the vocals, kick, snare of the music is sitting centrally, but everything else is panned hard left and right. Okay, so finally we're on the Tam Man. So the Tam Man is a tambourine heavy drum kit. MJ Cole uses this kind of drum kit on Crazy Love, and you can even hear similarities in some of Bonobo's work as well. I know it's not strictly garage, but that kind of gated tambourine pattern. Have a listen to this. One of the few kits that I've made that features just the clap alone, no snare, no rim shot. So our kick and clap patterns sound like this. So once again, that famous two-step on-beat, off-beat pattern from the kick there. The clap just landing on the downbeat. As you can see, everything's quantized in this track. The tambourine added there, just on the on-beat of the kick and on the on-beat of the clap. A different tambourine under here, just playing ahead of the third kick drum. And the dynamics create a really nice change in that track. This is what they sound like alone, so you can appreciate those. And finally, we've brought back that humanistic shuffle pattern on the hi-hat. Really tiny, almost open hi-hat sitting here. And with our kick and clap. So there we have it, guys, a real quick breakdown of how you can create 5 different grooves for UK Garage. So there we have it, guys. 5 UK Garage grooves that you can use within your beat making. Do remember that if you don't want to recreate these grooves, you can head to Patreon and just download the groove template, drop your sounds in, and you're good to go. If you've enjoyed this video, want to see more like it, learned something new, please do like and subscribe, as it greatly helps out the channel, and hit that bell icon so you get notified when a new video goes live. A question for you guys: what do you want to see in future videos? How can I help you? And what are you listening to lately? I would absolutely love to know. But for now, guys, I thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.